Underneath the Mistletoe, a singer, alternate universe, Adrienette Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction. Part 1. Adrian took a breath after stepping off the subway. The air hadn't changed, the scent of river water, herbs, smoke, and coffee. He was back home, for the first time in nearly 5 years, that is. Hidden in his disguise of stringy brown hair and blue-colored lenses, no fans or paparazzis were around to hound him. Only fellow passbyers running into his sides without so much as a sorry. Adrian smiled at this. Never in his entire life had he been a normal civilian, even just the taste of it. Adrian loved the idea of being a normal person. The running through bustling cities because, oh God, you're late for your office job. A normal, nameless civilian. They had their privacy kept. No gossip magazines buzzing for their world. Their entire life could be like a movie production, yet no one outside of their little circle would ever know their name. That was all contrast to Adrian's life, that is. Having lived in the spotlight since birth, he was tired of it. The fame, the cameras. Why couldn't he just lead a normal life? Oh, because pure luck landed him the son of a celebrity fashion designer and an angel deep voice? Right, that was why. As thankful as he was for his life, one couldn't help but long for what they didn't have. "Oh, I'm so sorry!" a small black-haired woman squealed. Adrian looked down and smiled broadly at her. No problem. There was a coffee stain on his baby blue sleeve. I'm just rushing so much. I'm so sorry," she continued with a fluster. He waved away her concern. In fact, he was more giddy with excitement, for once he was being treated like a normal person. This was a normal person interaction. No one was asking for autographs or screaming. No, she was just worried about him as a person. A regular person. I have to go, but I'm so sorry for that," she said with a worried smile before running off. Adrian turned around to wave at her. People running into him with growls. Apparently walking backwards is not a strong suit. Making his way to the hotel, Adrian fell onto the bed of his suite and groaned. For the record, he was only home to do a Christmas concert, an outdoor one that anyone could go to. He barely had the time to see old friends. Well, his one old friend. As a rebellious teen, he had made one friend that was his age and not famous. They had stayed in touch over the past decade that they had been friends. For even with all of Adrian's travels and very strictly hidden life, and Nino's regular life with other friends, they had stayed really good friends. Adrian's checked his phone for the time. It was about 3 hours later that he had to go to set to meet the crew, get his costume adjusted, and run through the set and start doing pre-concert checks. As of now, he could do nothing. He had half a mind to go out and see what about Paris had changed and what hadn't. But the other half wanted to sleep, and that side had won out. Even with a 2.5-hour nap, Adrian was rather groggy when he got to set. The jet lag certainly didn't help. Luckily, Adrian had always adjusted quickly to new time zones. "Hello," he said, waving to the crew members, bickering over where to hang garland. They paid him no mind. After working with so many famous stars, who was one more? Some of them politely waved back. They only did so when the star had a reputation of not having a garbage personality. That was quite possibly one of the few things about Adrian that he was proud to call his achievement alone. Half of his life, if not more, was pure luck. He probably wouldn't have been a singer if it weren't for the fact that he was already famous by association of movie star mother and the aforementioned fashion designer father. But despite fame and the knowledge that he could get away with anything, examples put on by his childhood fellow famous friends, Adrien kept his head on straight. Just because the crew wasn't the star of the show didn't mean they should be treated like dirt. Adrien resented the fact that so many celebrities had the reputation of being divas, and not as in being female hustlers. Hi, okay, I'm so sorry we have to do this so rushingly, but I need to fit and measure you for a new costume, a frantic voice said, coming from his right. Adrien turned around to see the woman from this morning. She had a red measuring tape in hand, a pen, and a sheet of paper. Adrien's brain went blank for a second. Hadn't he already been fitted for a costume? Today was supposed to be adjustments. Sure, Adrien said, lifting his arm up. The woman smiled gratefully and quickly began to measure around him, going fast as lightning. As she worked, Adrien watched her carefully. He hadn't gotten a good look at her earlier in the morning, and now he did, and admittedly, she was very cute. Her hair was in two complicated side braids, but still some strands fell into her eyes. I'm so sorry we have to do this so late in the planning, she said quickly when she measured his arms. It's okay, but why is this happening so late anyways? He asked her. The woman sighed, brushing the hair from out of her face. The fashion designer that was originally going to make your costume kinda isn't here anymore, so I'm taking over, she said. She explained with a weary smile. Adrien frowned. So they just shoved the responsibilities onto you? He asked. She looked at him and shrugged. Not really. I offered. I wanted this job anyways. With a final flick of the wrist, she stood up, paper in hand. Thank you so much for understanding and just working with the mess that is now, she said with a twinkling laughter that Adrien just couldn't help but smile back at. It's not a big deal. Showbiz is crazy, isn't it? He replied. She nodded energetically before one of the production assistants tapped her on the shoulder. Marinette, we can't find one of the backdrop props, and light 19 needs to be replaced, they said frantically. The black-haired woman, Marinette, apparently nodded and hurried away to fix everything. Mr. Agreste, a voice said. Adrien winced upon hearing his surname being used in such a formal manner. For the record, his father was the Mr. Agreste. He was Adrien. We're ready for your set. He gave the assistant a smile and thanks before going out on the still incomplete stage. The backup singers/dancers weren't in costume, but they were ready to start. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.